Now, streaming live, this is KSLA News Now.
Well, thanks for joining us for News 12 now at 9. I'm Jeff Horchak. Here's our top headlines tonight. A Bossier Parish deputy has died after his patrol unit was hit by a train. The Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office identified the deputy as Tim Jordan. He's a 4-year veteran of the office. Now, the crash happened about 8 this morning on the train tracks that run alongside Benton Road. We're told that Deputy Jordan was working a traffic assignment when the accident happened. Louisiana State Police are leading the investigation into this crash. In your vote, Louisiana Congresswoman Julia Letlow is gaining key support in her new Senate bid. Attorney General Liz Murrill and Governor Jeff Landry have endorsed her following former President Donald Trump's backing of her just 2 days ago. Now, Letlow announced her campaign yesterday, becoming the newest Republican challenger to Senator Bill Cassidy. Cassidy says that he's confident he'll win re-election.
I have a record which the other candidates don't have, a record of actually standing up for our state. By the way, standing up for conservative values, for example, on things like protection of the unborn.
A state as conservative as ours? We shouldn't have to wonder how our senator will vote when the pressure's on.
Well, many Louisiana political experts say that President Trump has not forgiven Cassidy for voting to convict him during his second impeachment trial in 2021. As the winter weather gets a little closer, it's important to make sure that your home is ready for these changes. Shreveport Fire says your best bet against the ice is to layer up and just stay home. Make sure that you stock up on batteries, flashlights, and use your heating sources while you can. If you lose power, don't use outdoor camp stoves, propane, or grills to heat your home inside. Instead, use seasoned firewood and seal those cracks on windows and doors all throughout your home.
Seasoned firewood, not just trash or other objects or anything that you can burn that might lead to a chimney fire or cause carbon monoxide. Ensure that you have functioning carbon monoxide detectors. Please don't use alternative sources like propane and outdoor camp stoves and gases and ovens to heat your home.
Don't forget outdoor protection either. Faucet covers and pipe insulation also can prevent frozen pipes that cost thousands of dollars to repair. Well, Caddo schools are monitoring the forecast for possible winter weather this week, and as part of their preparation, all athletics and field trips scheduled to begin Friday evening and through the weekend have been canceled or rescheduled. Now, magnet testing scheduled for Saturday will be rescheduled. All staff is expected to exit school and district buildings by 6 on Friday. And if your power does go out, here are some tips to keep you and your family safe. Only use generators outside and keep them away from windows. Don't ever use a gas stove or any of those ovens to heat your home. And disconnect appliances and electronics to avoid damage from electrical surges. Finally, just make sure you have a backup plan for refrigerating medicines or if you use a power-dependent medical device. At KSLA's News 12's Jolia Daughtry will have more tips from Shreveport Fire tonight at 10. Well, during this weekend winter storm, KSLA News 12 will keep you first alert. Download our KSLA News 12 app right now on your mobile devices or your smart TVs. Of course, we're going to stream forecasts, newscasts, and weather updates to keep you first alert through the entire storm. Well, federal health officials are downplaying measles outbreaks in the middle of the country. They say that if the U.S. loses its status as a country that has eliminated measles, that could actually change, but it wouldn't be a big deal because officials with the Centers for Disease Control held a briefing on it on Tuesday. It was their first comments since a measles outbreak in South Carolina grew to more than 640 cases. Now, last year, an even bigger outbreak happened over in West Texas, and overall, there were more than 2,200 measles cases in 2025, the most in the country since 1991. In 2000, the measles disease was declared eliminated in the U.S., but the Pan American Health Organization could change the U.S. status when it meets in April. And it's almost been a quarter of a century since Elizabeth Smart was missing and was rescued. Now, Netflix is retelling the story with a new material in a documentary called Kidnapped Elizabeth Smart. Smart made headlines when she was taken from her Utah home at only 14 years of age. That was back in 2002. It led to a national search effort that turned up nothing. The case wasn't solved until her 9-year-old sister was able to identify the voice that she heard the night of the kidnapping. That evidence then led authorities to Brian David Mitchell, who had once worked in the home. 9 months after she vanished, Elizabeth Smart was found just 5 miles from her home. The new documentary explains what happened and catches up with what Elizabeth Smart and her family members have been doing since then.
And we're still tracking that winter storm that's expected to arrive Friday night, lasting throughout the weekend. Big impacts here in the Arklatex. I'll have the details next.
Now, KSLA First Alert Weather.
And here's a look at the major winter storm that is just going to be arriving here as we head into Friday night. And again, we talked about this throughout the day today, how the forecast models have trended northward with this, which brings some warmer air in. So that means southern portions of the Arklatex could start as some rain. It could stay rain throughout the day on Saturday there. But if you're near and especially north of I-20, that's where we're talking about some significant ice and some major impacts expected. And all of the Arklatex is still underneath that winter storm watch Friday. And that actually begins Friday, lasting all the way through our Sunday. So here's a look at our long-range future track. We could show you how this plays out during the day on Friday. And actually, I think pretty much all of Friday is going to be relatively dry. So Friday's still going to be a pretty decent day to get outside and do anything that you need to get done, get some errands done. Whatever you need to get done, do it on Friday, because by late Friday night and especially into Saturday, notice how that cold air begins to drop southward. So that's when that rain will start to change over to freezing rain north of I-20, and then that will work its way southward throughout the day on Saturday, and that freezing rain continues to push farther to the south. So even areas that start off as rain down around Natchitoches, you're not going to stay that way the entire storm. Eventually, you are going to switch over to that wintry mix and even some snow on the backside of this. So everybody's at least going to get some wintry weather, but I think the bigger impacts definitely will be along and north of I-20, and then this all moves out quickly by late Sunday afternoon. So here's how much we're expecting: anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of ice in that pink shaded area, 1 to 3 inches of snow in the northern half of the Arklatex, far northern areas, and ice on top of it. And then that area that you see in green, that's going to be mainly rain on Saturday, but that will also, even that part of the Arklatex will switch over to that wintry mix by late Saturday night into Sunday. So even though you don't see any accumulations here, there could be something down there by the end of this event, by the time things wrap up on our Sunday. Behind all that, some extremely cold air on the way. We're talking actual air temperatures early next week in the single digits and teens. Wind chill values could be below 0 by next week. It is going to be dangerously cold. That is the cold air that's moving in. Quick check of tomorrow's forecast, though. Again, not a bad day. We'll see a lot of clouds around, and temperatures will be mainly in the mid to upper 50s. Here's that 7-day forecast for you. You can see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are all first alert weather days. Although Friday is actually not looking too bad. We might actually have to take the first alert weather day off Friday because this system's kind of slowing down. I don't really think it's going to really get here till Saturday morning at this point. 30 on Saturday, 29 on Sunday. Overnight temps in the mid-teens by early next week, so it's going to get bitterly cold. Travel's going to be really difficult this weekend, and we could also be talking about widespread power outages, so it's going to be a little tough.
So we've got basically 2 days of under 32, under freezing.
Yeah, it's going to be below freezing for quite an extended stretch.
All right, thank you, Matt. Well, the crew of Centaur is making a major schedule change ahead of the 2026 Mardi Gras season. Because of this weather, the crew has officially rescheduled its ball to Thursday, February 5th. It was originally going to be this weekend at the Convention Center. Doors will open at 5 p.m. The move creates a packed weekend for members. The ball is on Thursday. The float loading's on Friday, and then the Centaur Parade actually rolls on Saturday. The organizers say all tickets already purchased will be honored for the new date, and the crew says more updates will be released as the weekend gets a little bit closer. So we've got 2 days really of that super cold weather. Yeah, it's going to be, and don't forget the pipes. You want to drip those pipes and cover the outdoor exposed pipes too. You have some issues. And just be safe, you know, when it comes to keeping your home heated. We said don't use your oven to heat your home because that's very dangerous.
Right.
All right, Matt, thanks for the updates. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock. To stay connected, make sure you download the KSLA News 12 app. We have breaking news, weather, and sports. We'll see you at 10.